even that is like your body has to believe it's starving during that time. But it starts as soon as you eat your last bite, and then goes until.
Okay.
If y'all are ready for something, just say so.
Ready for what?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
We're already going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
David had this look on his face like, are y'all ready to do something? And I was like, I don't know.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, good evening.
Good
Welcome.
Her hand. So, yeah, okay. It's slow internet. I know why, because I have two beautiful little boys currently using the internet back there. But
Pause.
Not for long.
shut down. So we are here tonight just having a small group together. Tonight we wanted to talk a little bit about spiritual community. And to do that, our city's declaration ordinances. We are trying not to touch our faces and our mouths. We are there is less than 10 of us, and we are trying to abide by all the protocols that we need to in order to follow what our government has asked us to do. But we know that spiritual community is so important, so we invited some of our friends to come and join us today to talk a little bit about spiritual community and have a small group.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, being a homeschool mom and working from home, and David actually works at home, and there's not been a lot of, there have not been many things I've missed in this time of sort of everything. Paul was just talking to somebody about that today. I was saying it's like my release, it's my break, it's the joy that it's a moment of extreme joy where I love coming together with the body and experiencing life on life moments where we just get to
that are important about spiritual community, about being with the people of God together in the same
We're in the room together. There's a more connection if it's face to face and like over the internet.
Over the internet, yeah. And that connection, so the Greek on that is actually koinonia, right? And it's fellowship. It's
Double dipping.
Huh?
Double dipping.
It is. It's one's physical space, but also being part of one's spiritual space.
My bubble, basically.
Huh?
You're in my bubble.
You are in my bubble.
Yes, we get to be in each other's bubble.
Welcome to my bubble.
6 feet.
Right? Yep. According to guidelines. What else? What else are some of those cool things about being with each other in spiritual community?
I think it can cheer you up. Like, you can be so isolated that you feel alone. You feel there can be like a depression with it. Like, without being around someone else who can laugh together, who you can really talk and make eye contact in each other's presence.
Yes.
In each other's presence. It's different than being on the internet and in a presence through a picture than through physical surroundings.
Earlier you said double dipping. What's the thought on that?
That's what the word koinonia means.
Okay.
It's a fellowship.
Give us a
the idea of breaking.
It's going to eat Mexican food. I really have.
Yes.
Okay.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how a large percentage of our life is actually lived around meals?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And now that this whole ship and friendship that we miss from not eating together per usual.
Okay. Well, we're talking a lot about being in one another's presence versus being online. But let's talk about the spiritual fellowship. Let's talk about the importance of, hey, we have our daily. I know that we will get back to normal. We will go back to school. We will go back to work. We will go. Everything will not pause forever. This too shall pass. And Isaiah, things won't be either.
It's allergies. It's allergies.
It's alright, I'm a little stuck.
I know, right? People automatically start going, all right, anyway.
Things won't always be, what's the importance of spiritual community in our daily, everything's normal kind of lives where you say, I go to school, or I have work friends, or I have a neighborhood and a bunch of neighbors that are really awesome. What's the importance of...
Are you looking at us?
Well, I asked the
Okay.
question, so it's awkward for me to answer my own question.
So we want to
Do you
start.
want me to ask the question so you can answer?
We want to start small groups ultimately at on how a small group happens. One of the great things about small groups is that you shouldn't, if you're leading a small group, you shouldn't talk all the time. You should ask questions and then be okay with the awkward silences that follow. It's okay. It actually encourages. I am comfortable with awkward silences. I don't think, Kara, are you comfortable with awkward silences? Are you going to give an awkward silence? That was awesome.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I don't know if you know my job is, but I teach and then I wait
Oh, that's right.
And I wait,
Yes.
and I wait and I go,
Yes, but the tendency is to fill points of view. So
14 seconds and somebody automatically speaks more.
there you go. Say that again.
See, she's got the number.
She's got the knowledge. Dropping the knowledge.
bring with the numbers.
Okay, so in everyday life, when you're walking through your everyday normal routine, which we haven't been in, Kara just asked, what is the importance of spiritual community in that context?
When everything goes back to normal, why will you still hold on to a fellowship of believers? That's a great churchy phrase.
I think we feed each other better, and I don't mean like food wise. I mean like spiritual wise.
Mm.
When we're in each other's face, you can. There's more of availability to pray with one another in a
Good.
more close contact. Not that God can't move through different space, time, whatever. You know
Right.
what I mean.
Right.
But there is a connection there to be able to have physical contact and have someone literally standing with you, going through things with you, because
love
you
that.
need that encouragement to lift up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to do that through a phone or through a video that may feel like
It's right to communicate. Do you guys feel, and this is probably a little deeper question, do you feel comfortable sharing your lives with people?
And you get a sense of family almost, because like I've known y'all since 3 years, I think.
I've known you forever.
feels like
In
it.
the beginning, I didn't have any connection with you. I didn't get any bond. So
Right.
I didn't know you, and I wasn't as easy to open up with you and
Sure.
try to connect with you. But the more you form a deeper connection with people, I think.
With people and allowing you guys to rub off on one another. You know, the scripture talks about iron sharpening iron, but do you actually know how that happens? Because when you rub up against one another, iron is actually like transferred one to the other and melded with the other. And so there's actually a transfer of iron that happens. In other words, when I live my life next to your life and I pour my...
So you mean I got a part of you?
You're mixing
Yeah,
metaphors.
yes,
Don't
you
mix
do.
metaphors.
Huh?
Don't mix metaphors.
Oh, sorry, what did I say?
Well, one was pouring and one was friction.
Sorry, yes. Yes, a part of you is with me and a part of me is with you because some of me, or maybe some of that is rubbed off too, yeah.
And I think the more you don't.
And that's so good.
That's good. You know, we come to depend. The Lord works in our uniquenesses.
Yeah.
Community. I know. I completely agree with you, Summer. There was a time in our life, in my life. I can speak for me. There was a time in my life
You speak for us.
when I had a very hard time opening up my life and sort of allowing people to see into
See all the nasty, grungy parts of our lives?
Yes,
Yeah.
to see into the interior portions of my life. I very much had a carefully constructed shell that you were allowed to look at. You were allowed to touch and in that place, I didn't let anyone come close enough to me that not only was I missing I was missing the giftedness of them. I was missing the treasure that they were.
Yeah.
They were missing who I was. They were
Yeah.
missing, and we weren't able to form relationships. And it was when my pastor looked at me and he said, "You guys are going to host a small group. It will be boundary eroded, not even eroded, like torn
Violated.
down, boundary violated, boundary violated." But in that.
Yeah.
In those boundary violations, because the Lord's able to do really cool things. Some of the dearest friends
Yeah.
who
now
we are
look,
still.
we at the time and even now we don't like young adults. I mean, like I do not like young adults. No, I mean, at the time we were like, oh man, young adults, because we identify with
We can take them.
we identified with older individuals, which is kind of funny because I was the youth pastor. But we identified with those. We grew up in churches that were
No,
primarily
I
older.
identified. I didn't know. I identified with people who stayed in their homes, and I identified with people who didn't come into my homes.
Well, then
my
this
home.
quarantine was great for you.
I really did. I was like, hey, you stay out of my life. I'll stay out of your life. You won't erode my boundaries. I won't encroach on yours. And we will live our separate lives. But what the Lord did in that season was he brought in a couple who's very dear to us.
Brian and Gabby, we love you.
I love you, Brian and Gabby. Riley, Haley, Cheyenne, and Jolie. But the Lord brought us really good friends, lifelong friends. However, the Lord was able to mine out of us a blessing to deposit into their lives. He did at that time, and the Lord just really gave us treasures in their whole family.
Yeah.
Our kids are friends, and
We found lifelong
shared
friends. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've shared really, really, really cool moments with them that we haven't shared with anyone else.
It also helped us, and several other things that happened there. It helped us to be transparent. You guys,
Yes.
So that kind of deals with vulnerability. So when you
Yes.
like stop blocking yourself off and like close, like open up your gates and let people in. Once you get vulnerable and they get vulnerable, it becomes a closer attachment.
Absolutely, and that had to happen for us.
yeah. We got to a place, we got to a certain spot where basically we had to be transparent. There was something that happened with our family, and we just had to fling wide the. And you guys see, like, would you guys say that we're pretty transparent now? Like you.
Oh yeah.
You-
All on our page.
Probably
Like-
more than I am.
Like you know what you get when you see us,
I
right?
don't know.
And
He's still questioning that.
Get out of my house!
there's still some closed off
Get out of
spaces.
here.
I think that's one of the greatest gifts that spiritual community gave us was the ability to be able to go, you know what, our life's an open book, and if you read it and you don't like, well, you know, maybe we're not meant to be friends.
Okay.
And I think what happens in that, and let me just say this, let me just say this, you can tell who fools are. There's an easy test to tell who a fool is. If you're vulnerable and transparent, and then they become judgmental,
Absolutely.
that's a fool.
Absolutely. Familiarity should breed compassion. Oftentimes
Yes.
it breeds contempt. But that's exactly what God designed our desire for one another. He placed the desire for relationship within us
Yeah.
in order that we would not only find benefit in relationship with one another, but that we would find benefit to give
Yeah.
to one another. And that's exactly, can we wrap up our testimony really quickly?
Sure.
And invited people into our home. It was awful and miserable once a month. It was once a month, y'all. It was not a big deal. It was once a month. I look back on it and go, oh, that was so easy. That was a piece of cake. But for me, it was gut wrenching. And so what I found myself doing is saying and I have the opportunity to gripe and complain when their kids leave a mess, and I have an opportunity to shut down on the inside and just listen to, like, give them my listening eyes and look vapidly at them, or I have the opportunity to invest in this, throw myself in. And so what I did is, because I'm not I'm going to be miserable on purpose, or I'm not going to do it. And so I threw myself in. And I found that the couples in this small group had something to offer me. I was the worship pastor, David was the youth pastor, and I found that these people brought me down from my crusty religious throne of awful stench and brought me into reality where they had the image of God in them, and they were able to do exactly what David said, to rub off on me and to make a difference in my life, to bring blessing
Yeah.
and benefit to me, to like insert themselves into my kids' lives and to care about my kids as well. I think it was just one kid at that time. To care about my kid and to care about his life and to I found people that I could call and say, hey, we were just talking last week. Can we continue that conversation because I need you to pray for me in this? And I found a place where I had never sown before in relationship, but I found a place of flourishing and thriving in the garden of other people's hearts, if you will.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. Okay, it's time to be transparent for a minute. Tell us something about yourself. It doesn't have to be like a deep, dark secret. Just something that we may not know that would bring a level of transparency, which ultimately means just opening up your life so that someone else can see. It could be a weird fact, something that somebody else here may not know, that you're comfortable also sharing on broadcast on the internet.
Oh yeah. Forget the.
Just a note for future small group leaders. What's said in the small group is usually supposed to stay.
I was going to say, this is an awful idea.
Is usually supposed to
Terrible
stay.
idea.
No,
Don't
a
do
nice
this.
thing, not like this is my sin and you shall know it now. No, but usually small group leaders make sure that everything that's said within the small group stays safe within the small group. People become transparent and
We jump straight to small
transformational
group
when.
Love you, David.
Huh?
Better be glad we love you, or else we.
I've been really awfully silent tonight. I tell you what, I won't go because I've talked a lot.
Go ahead, Philip.
Spring on.
Something
Mom.
nice. Something nice. Come on.
Go in the ball.
Okay, I'll go. I'll give two
Look,
off.
you're not getting an answer. Ask a better question.
What kind of info you want in here?
Let me be more specific.
There we go.
Okay, I'll be more specific. When the answers don't come, be more. When you had to be transparent, where you had to tell the truth and be open with people.
This is still not a good
When
question.
you-
Worse.
Is that worse?
I'll answer the other question.
Okay, all right. Answering the other question.
I think
Awkward-
the fact
awkwardness.
that y'all don't know, I am actually really well with graphite pencils and drawing. Although, another thing, I hate color pencils. You will not catch me using one.
See, now that's a
I despise
secret.
colored pencils too.
Yeah, like
What is that?
The texture is just like, ew.
Okay, now did you see what just happened? You were honest and open and vulnerable a little bit, right? And you
Right.
shared something about yourself, and look what happened.
I got a connection with Karen.
Exactly, you
We've
made.
got a watercolor connection too.
Actually, watercolors are really fun to use.
Yes, they're not fun for me because I get frustrated at my lack of ability, but
I found
they're
that-
cool when I figure something out.
Yeah.
Openness and transparency breeds relationship too. In fact, Philip's got a really great thing that he actually taught me about this, and hopefully he'll share it after this. You were talking about first fruits. About yeah. Anyway, so
Okay.
will you share it after we share?
Sure.
it? Yeah.
Whatever.
Cool.
You got something you want to share, Skippy?
Well, I'm waiting for everybody else. We don't have to fill the silence.
Your turn to finish outside the.
I'm where you lied and you got caught in the lie.
Oh, that time with the candy, and we were had the other thing, and yep, Autumn
Okay,
gave us.
You probably don't want to know mine.
I mean, like as a kid, I'm not like talking like
Okay.
like serious.
So I used to
I'm trying
always.
to keep it light and fluffy, and everybody wants to
I'm
go.
an awful
Yeah,
liar.
come
I
on.
would always tell on myself as a kid. I'd be like, "Yo, I'm lying now. Hey, I just lied."
Or how about this?
Like
I wasn't much of a liar as a kid.
Right?
Like it really irritated me for people to lie.
Okay.
So I'd pretty much tell it and get the whooping. And then I'm not gonna cry.
Yes.
I gotta say, one time, me and Spring were doing this. We had a big dollhouse. We never used it for much,
Oh,
but
Lord.
Do you remember
Tall
this?
house story.
Yeah, and we had a bunch of Halloween candy. That was the year we got a punch. And me and Spring, we were greedy little kids, you know. We would grab handfuls and eat it and store the wrappers in the Halloween in the dollhouse. And
Mom
they
made
got
us
caught, but that wasn't the best part of the memory. Is the punishment. She let Autumn do it, and we had to stand on one leg and hold a book on top.
Oh my goodness.
Autumn was a harsh.
Yes.
She was a taskmaster.
She still is.
Did she
That's why
ask
she works
you
for
to
the
do that
prison. Or
punishment?
the
Did
jail.
she ask for you to for her to punish us?
Yes.
Okay.
And I
Have
was
you-
like, you know what? I'm sick of doing it. Go ahead.
Have you ever faked something before? Like, I remember one
Yeah.
time. I remember one time. I was standing in a hotel. If I pretended to have an Australian accent the whole weekend. So I pretended to have an Australian accent the whole. It was like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Melbourne. You know, and anyway, so it was yeah, that was funny.
Did anybody from Melbourne?
No,
Yeah.
no,
So no one
nobody
thought
caught
you-
me. Nobody caught me.
Went to youth camp. I tried to convince different groups of people because they always had you in small group settings and different
Yeah.
stuff. So every group I was with, I had a different name.
I bet that was interesting.
I
Did you
mean,
keep
more
up with
for
it?
me, and then when they connected and knew, and I had to get on stage and share a testimony,
Yeah.
and I got introduced by two different people.
Oh wow.
That's like two girlfriends meeting each other. That's
well,
like
it was just me though, and it's
Have
like,
you done that?
and it was two, like one of the leaders and the camp pastor who figured out in that moment that I was the same person because they were trying to get. I remember one of the names in that one was Fred. Up on stage.
That's
But
funny. That's
Fred.
Fred. Yeah. So why do you think that sometimes
Let anyone in. We want to
Okay.
stay in our bubble and stay protected, and if we let someone in, then it's a chance of getting hurt.
okay, so pain is a possibility.
Pain is a game.
Pain is a possibility of being transparent. Interesting. Why else?
But what was the question?
Why
Okay.
why do we put up a front sometimes? Why do we lie? Why do we hide ourselves? You were saying something.
I've talked to him.
I don't think I've. Okay, I don't hide myself in a way of trying to be someone I'm not. Now I may not be completely trained.
Okay.
Like I have personally been burnt too many times over trust with people that I am very cautious of who I talk to and who I open myself up to, because I've just learned from experience that not everybody is trustworthy
Yeah.
with information about yourself or with just being yourself.
Right.
So it's not that I don't be myself, but there are limits to being yourself. There's being yourself around your family. There's being yourself around your friends. There's being yourself around public.
You love her and yourself.
Around, I mean, there's a different you with each person you're with. There's a
Mm.
facet of
Okay.
you that you show or that you're comfortable with.
Mm.
And say like with your spouse, there's a different part of you that you would be that you wouldn't be with your kids. I mean, still the same you.
Sure.
It's just a facet of you, a different part. Parts have been damaged with certain people, then you kind of are particular about who you feel comfortable with showing those facets to.
Yeah.
Can I challenge that thought?
Yeah.
Can I
all
challenge
means.
that thought? What different? Okay. Other than the degrees of intimacy, because distance is different than direction. Other than the degrees of intimacy, how are you different in your relationships? Because, yeah.
Okay, so because there are some people who may be more serious than others and who do not seem okay with just being yourself,
Yeah.
that I am watchful of how my behavior is to an extreme. Where at my family, it's no holds bar.
Right.
And everybody is just like being a hoot and acting our normal selves of loud, obnoxious people and cutting up and making whatever jokes we want, to a limit, of course, but you know
Sure.
what I mean? Like there's no watching over what you say. It's family, you're loved, you know that you're gonna be loved no matter what. Even if you say something that doesn't know you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you
there's a
see that?
fear. Yeah.
Am I
yeah.
answering
There's a
correctly? Like, am I like
No, you're
aiming
I hear
correctly
you.
on what you're saying.
yeah, you're
So,
making sense.
Jan Horton says, hide the real me because, we're worried sometimes that people may not like the real us.
That's
so
true.
I think-
Fear of
I think
rejection,
yeah.
fear of rejection, fear of but I mean, here's a big one: fear of information getting out, right?
Or fear of offense.
Fear of offense.
Okay.
That's true. Sometimes you
You
feel
just-
like you can't be you because you are going to offend somebody with your you-ness.
I mean, true. I mean,
Yeah.
okay,
Story
I've
of
been
my
in
life.
places to where, you know, if you wear a long sleeve shirt or if you wear a short sleeve shirt, somebody's going to have an issue with that. Or if you act in a certain way, someone's going to have an issue with that. So, you know, over a period of time, you get to where you kind of think those thoughts of, okay, what is okay for me to be and what is it not okay for me to be at this
Wow.
moment?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so would you say that's a functional part of spiritual community, or would you say that's something that needs to be transformed as a part of spiritual community?
I think as you get to know each other in a spiritual community and you get to like open each other's hearts, one who doesn't know your heart.
You know, Paul speaks. Go ahead. Phil.
I think read
Right.
like
Yeah.
because that wouldn't be good, and just like and that's depths and things you deal with in
Sure.
small known quantum further into the genuine. Like, I mean, there's no reason we can't come, but
So,
So-
degrees of intimacy.
yeah, absolutely. But the setting.
There's a great book by Patrick Lencioni, if anybody ever gets the chance to read it. It's actually a leadership. Dysfunctions of a team is that there's not an atmosphere of trust. Without an atmosphere of trust, then what winds up happening is the team can't function.
There's a lot of
Because
truth to that.
yeah, there is. Because the reality is that we need to be able to go, hey, that plan sucks. And for it not to become this huge
Blown out of proportion.
blown out of proportion thing for us to be able to go, okay, let me hear what you have to say. I'm sure that hurts my feelings a little bit, but you know what? I'm a big boy or a big girl, and I can put my big end of this, that it's not a relationship ender, that we can struggle through this, get to the other side, and come to a positive and healthy outlook. And you and I can disagree, and we can be totally good with disagreeing.
Absolutely.
And
Agree
going,
to disagree.
yeah. And when you get to a place where that trust doesn't exist, especially in the church, when you get to a place where that trust doesn't exist, that you and I can disagree, but we can still love with each other. We can still love one another through this difficulty.
Absolutely.
Philip looked like he was drawing breath.
I was drawing breath. I do that regularly.
At intervals.
It's kind of important.
It's a habit. Trying to kick it. In a lot of church community is covenant relationships
Yeah.
because, like, I mean, one, we can hop churches, and two, like, you know, you don't like something, change it, or
Bishop changes it.
control and manipulate people until you get away. But I mean, the reality is, like, covenant relationships are largely lost in most churches. I mean, it's weird to experience it because it
Yeah.
feels like a new thing, and it should have been there the whole time.
Yeah.
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 It's a high and a bye.
Well, yeah, well,
It's
like
a high, let me sit down, good to see you. And then it's a bye,
Let me run
see you
out.
next Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, kind of situation whenever you.
Hold on, real
Go.
quick,
Well,
real
I was
quick.
gonna
Sorry.
say, like,
Someone said
if you go from a church that's not clean, you do that little church hug. But then I came here, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna know all your business. And we're gonna get close.
We're gonna get in your business.
Like,
We're gonna draw together." And it was such a odd thing at first. So you start to close off. Like in the beginning with y'all, I don't think I showed y'all the real me at all.
No, I couldn't even get a high five out of you.
No, and now I tolerate a half five. But I've drawn so close to y'all because I realized this is like a good thing.
Yeah,
If you're
it's a safe environment.
Yeah, if you're not used to it though, you don't know how to respond to it. You don't know how to act. So you want to go away from it because it's new.
That's good. Okay. The second very interesting thing that you said that I don't know if I'm going to bring conflict into the scenario or if they're going to bring conflict into my life as a result of what I reveal about myself. I think that's I think who said it? You said it. That's what I thought. But I think that's something that's not it's not a negligible.
Tarina and I have kind of banged up against each other a couple of times. The conflict is a good thing.
Okay, have I had conflict with everybody in this room?
I don't think you've had a conflict.
You've definitely had conflict.
Sure.
You know, y'all's
No.
conflict is
Okay.
quite so
But last night, I
slight
definitely
that I
did
don't
not.
even like.
Yeah, so you had.
Talking about our conflict?
No,
Yeah, you
even
gotta
with
pick.
us, like I don't even notice that there was actual real conflict because I've had real conflict in my life, and what happens between us just feels like a little bit of a
Dispute.
no, it's more
Isn't
like
there just
a
the difference between
a
healthy conflict and
second
the other stuff?
uncomfortableness.
Okay,
Heads with someone and like, oh my gosh, I want to choke you out. So yeah, no, I've never had a choke you out moment with you. So you're good.
Well-
No, but never mind. Sorry.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Sorry, side. Never mind.
The reality is that I had a counselor that told Kara and I fighting is okay as long as you fight fair. If there's no passion in the room, then you're like,
Define fight fair.
Most
I
people
mean-
don't.
okay, with us, fighting without bringing in accusation, fighting without bringing all of the past 15 years of marriage, fighting without bringing in your parents, fighting without, so
Okay.
being able to fight about,
conflict.
sure.
Okay. Can we in spiritual community, can we say that conflict is anything that challenges the status quo or the norm in order to pull down what's normative and then reestablish a new norm. Normative.
Okay.
To pull
Normative.
down. Okay.
Say that
so
again
in
in
other
a
words,
different way.
I built a block tower.
Listing is
Leaning.
Here, some of us are on lower
Kara.
levels.
Bring out the kids, Webster.
We have a picture of
I'll
it.
pull out my childcraft
The
dictionary.
one dollar.
No, but what we do is we say in healthy conflict, hey, that's crooked. We need to unbuild and rebuild. My unbuilding conflicts with the purpose of that thing standing.
Yeah.
But the real and is not going to last and is going to be short-lived of its purpose, and there's going to be no lasting fruit as a result of that thing that we did together. I think conflict has to be. I think we're afraid of conflict because we have either the wrong conflict or we don't have a functional idea of what healthy conflict is. I think I've had healthy conflict. I don't know if you and I have had conflict. I don't think.
Oh, it's
I don't
coming.
imagine that you have
Pointing
conflict.
finger.
And I know that you and I have had
Now we do.
to their like you're being abrasive to me, but like we've had differences of opinions and ideas, and like I've walked away going, wow, I appreciate Summer's viewpoint. I appreciate her. She brought something to me that I didn't have, and I value that. You and I've definitely had conflict.
Do you think sometimes-
Healthy and non-healthy.
Do you think this also deals with vulnerability though? Because if you don't really care and you don't really have any feelings for the person, and
Then
you're
you
not
just don't
willing to
care
be
about their
vulnerable, then you're just going to close off and not care and just like go blank face and zone out. Like
Yes.
a lot of us do with different types of conflict. A lot of us do with a bunch of like.
Are we solving issues right now? This is good.
Family
Is this
It's all
healthy?
good.
This is healthy.
I mean,
Okay.
I can say I do it a lot. I just
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
care.
But do you think a lot of people are afraid to have conflict because they don't? I wouldn't say stuff that would cause a conflict because I didn't know if you'd get mad and now you come to me and ask for stuff, different opinions. Like there's been situations, and I'm honest, so I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat something.
It's that trust that helps us to be, and it hurt my feelings. And let's talk about it because I want to get to the other side of this.
But you also know they're not trying to hurt you.
Right. And that's the good thing, is that when you're able to say, that person really does, as much as they're able to, have my best interest in mind.
Right.
Or at least be able to go, that person doesn't want to hurt me. That person doesn't want to hurt who I am.
Fighting the issue though.
Sure, yes. In fact, that's what Kara said. The deal was not the interpersonal problem. It was the fact that this thing was built wrong, and we got to go, how do we fix this thing
Springer
together?
simplified it for all of the.
It's also, I mean, if we've I'm not going anywhere, like, doesn't matter what happens, you're not
Yes.
getting rid of me.
Yes.
Like that kind of relationship. Like
You're
breeds.
never
Philip,
getting
is
rid
that
of
what you exude?
Huh?
I said, is that what you exude?
You're not getting rid of me?
I'm
me.
not going anywhere.
Until that exists, I mean, it's hard to have conflict. Like,
It
it's
is.
like, and honestly, I don't even know if it's like most of the time it's not worth having because, like, if you're not, like if you're not invested in a relationship with me, why should I?
Build a thing with you.
Right. Like, why should we get into a place of whatever you want to call it, conflict or whatever, if I bother? Like, I mean,
Wow.
until we first build a relationship, like, I mean, yeah, we can share stuff, but I'm not going to fight with somebody who I don't know they're going to stick around. And I mean, I will, but there's a definite extent. There's a difference between, like, you know, the little bit here and then all of this up here that I'll
Yeah.
give to the people who are like in covenant.
No, I don't want to.
I'll interrupt if I need to.
Personal conflict.
I don't need to.
So one of the things that you had mentioned to me a while ago, Philip, was your not philosophy, but your practice of first fruits and building in covenant relationship, how you build intimacy and trust with people. And I thought it was really great. And I don't want to, like, you know, for you to spill your beans, but talk to us about how building intimacy with people. What are some steps we can take in order to build intimacy with covenant?
Giving a first fruits is basically just whoever you give to first. So if you have, say, and it comes to the simplest of things, like you have happy news, well, the amount of energy and excitement you can put into that dwindles every time you tell it. So the first person you tell it gets the best portion. That's why God tells you to give him your first fruits, because he gets the best portion. But it's true, like with other people too, like whoever gets that next piece, they get a bigger portion than everybody after them, because your energy and excitement for that thing dwindles with every telling of the same story. And so, like, if I want to intentionally build first fruits with you, or build intimacy in our relationship, the news, both good and bad, I can come and give some of that early, and that excitement and everything that's in me. When I give that, it breeds intimacy.
That's good.
And that's, I mean, so first fruits, serving. I mean, it builds relationship.
Yeah.
Because it not only is the talking about the fact that I care for you, it's showing that I genuinely am invested in this wholeheartedly. I don't mind, like, if I serve you, it means I want. There was a third one when we talked about this last. Giving, yeah. And so, like, giving, like, sharing, like, whether it's sharing a meal with a friend, picking up a tab, or, like, with community, like, giving to the church, or just whatever it is, whether it's, like, you know, with, like, a small group, sometimes it's, like, I don't know, I'm throwing a plate of cookies in the middle of a group of people. Like, sometimes it's like those things, because you're giving of yourself and your resources, it's just like serving. It positions your heart in a place that's prepared to receive, and people respond to it.
Wow.
And I found a way that I know I'm not in covenant with someone. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. Like, if my heart is not invested in, like, an immediate gut check for me is if I'm begrudging giving this thing to this person. Like, I go, oh, am I stealing from that person the benefit of my covenant relationship with them? Because that's like an immediate gut check for me. It's not. I'm not saying it.
No. I think you said something there that is so freaking important.
Awesome.
Yes, you hold back your